Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will today release legal advice around the former Prime Minister Scott Morrison secretly taking on those 5 ministerial portfolios. The advice prepared by the Solicitor General is widely expected to find that Mr Morrison's decision was not illegal, but that is unlikely to put the issue to rest. There is still a push for a broader investigation, and it's also emerged a separate probe is underway within the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet.
With questions being raised about the Governor-General's role, the office of his official secretary says it supports a more transparent process to make sure appointments are made public. Political reporter Noor Haider has the latest from Parliament House. G'day, Noor. Releasing the Solicitor General's advice is a pretty rare move, isn't it?
Yeah, Lisa, it is. But the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, says that he will be releasing it for transparency's sake. So he was briefed on the advice provided by the Solicitor General yesterday. He'll be taking that legal advice to his Cabinet today for further discussions before releasing it more broadly to the public and the media later today. Now, Mr Albanese has already said that there is no indication that the former Prime Minister broke the law by secretly assuming power in those 5 ministerial portfolios during the course of the pandemic. But as you mentioned earlier, that doesn't put the matter to rest necessarily. The Deputy Prime Minister, Richard Marles, says that regardless of the legality of Mr Morrison's actions, he needs to pay, in his words, a severe political price for undermining Australia's system of government. Mr Marles says that Mr Morrison flouted long-held conventions, and he says that it's up to his coalition colleagues to make sure that that doesn't slide. Take a listen to some of what he had to say.
In terms of what should happen to Scott Morrison, that ultimately I think is a matter for the Liberal Party, and I'm very keen to see what their decision is in respect of this, but clearly it needs to be a severe consequence.
And the Prime Minister's flagged that a broader probe into Mr Morrison's actions is underway, already happening. What do we know?
Well, Lisa, the Prime Minister has indicated that he is open to conducting another sort of inquiry looking into Mr Morrison's actions more broadly. Now, we know that some within the coalition have openly criticised what Scott Morrison did. Indeed, Karen Andrews has called for him to resign, but there are some who argue that, if Mr Morrison didn't break the law, then the matter should rest here. But more broadly in the Parliament, there is this push for an inquiry to look into his actions, why he did what he did, and what would be needed to ensure that it can't happen again. And some would like to see any future inquiry look into the role of the Governor-General, as well as those within the public service, to ensure that, checks and balances are adequate. We know that the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, says that this saga has exposed weaknesses in the checks and balances within our system. The fact that Mr Morrison was able to do this secretly without informing the Cabinet, the Parliament, or indeed the public. And Mr Albanese has already indicated that this is something, an inquiry is something that his government is looking at. As you mentioned earlier, we know that the office of the official secretary to the Governor-General yesterday said that it would be supportive of changes that would require any, appointments to be made public. So that is a possibility. What will the government be looking at to ensure that, this doesn't happen again, and that indeed, if this does happen, there is a requirement, an onus on those being sworn in to publicise that. So there are a number of things at play here. The Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet is also conducting its own probe. We learnt that yesterday with the Secretary of the Department, Glenn Davies, has been asked for advice from the Prime Minister on this matter. So we are yet to see exactly where the government lands on how to proceed, but we do expect that Anthony Albanese will give us a bit of an indication of what the government's thinking when he releases this legal advice later today.
All right, Noor, thanks for the update.